You become what you speak to yourself. This isn't just a poetic statement. It is a powerful truth that shapes your life every single day. The words you whisper in your mind when no one else is around are planting seeds. Over time, those seeds take root. They grow into beliefs, habits, and ultimately the identity you carry into the world. If those words are soaked in doubt, fear, and limitation, don't be surprised when you begin to feel unworthy, incapable, and stuck. But when your words carry confidence, resilience, and belief, something shifts inside you. Your mindset, your posture, your energy. You don't just feel different, you become different. Most people don't realize that the voice in their head is more than background noise. It's a builder. And it builds silently, consistently, and without your conscious permission. That voice is crafting the lens through which you see yourself and the world. Tell yourself you're not good enough, often enough, and eventually you'll stop trying. You'll lower your expectations. You'll settle for less. You'll avoid challenges, not because you aren't capable, but because your inner dialogue convinces you that you aren't. The tragedy is that most people aren't limited by their abilities. They're limited by their language. Think about how you speak to yourself when you fail, when things don't go your way, when someone criticizes you. Are your words filled with self-compassion, reminding you that growth takes time? Or do you call yourself names, shame yourself, and replay every mistake like a broken record? That internal conversation doesn't stay internal for long. It leaks into your behavior. It affects how you treat others, how you chase goals, how you react under pressure. It shapes your emotional stamina and your mental resilience. Your self-talk becomes your emotional diet. Just like you can't eat junk food every day and expect a healthy body, you can't feed your mind negativity and expect a confident, peaceful life. When you repeatedly speak fear into your future, you invite hesitation. When you constantly remind yourself of your flaws, you forget your strengths. But when you speak strength into your struggle, you create endurance. When you speak possibility into your process, you become unstoppable. Words are not just sounds, they are vibrations that affect your nervous system. Speak belief long enough and your brain begins to rewire itself. The science backs this up. Positive affirmations, visualizations, and powerful self-dialogue stimulate the brain to create new empowering neural pathways, and over time those pathways become the default setting. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about choosing a perspective that fuels you. It's about becoming the loudest voice of encouragement in your own life. Because if you wait for someone else to tell you you're worthy, you might wait forever. But if you say it to yourself daily, I am enough, I can grow, I am capable, you begin to embody it, slowly, surely, deeply. You become what you speak to yourself. So choose your words with the same care you'd use to build a masterpiece. Because your life is one. Words are mental programming. Every sentence you repeat to yourself becomes a line of code in the operating system of your mind. Self-talk isn't just about sounding positive or motivated. It's the actual script your brain uses to interpret the world, to make decisions, and to shape how you experience life. What you say to yourself becomes the default setting your brain falls back on, especially in moments of stress, failure, or uncertainty. That's why changing the language you use internally is not just helpful, it's transformative. Imagine your brain as a highly advanced computer. Every time you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, or this is just who I am, you're programming that machine to behave in alignment with those statements. And like any machine, it follows instructions without question. The brain processes those words as truth, not suggestion. It responds to your internal script by releasing emotions, activating neural pathways, and building habits that reinforce what you just said. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you're incapable, your brain starts highlighting all the evidence that supports that belief. It will bring up memories of past failures, minimize your accomplishments, and generate fear around taking new risks. The same works in the opposite direction. Speak words of power. I'm growing. I can handle this. I've overcome worse before. and the brain reorients itself. It looks for proof that you are indeed resilient, smart, and capable. You begin to rewire your neural pathways, replacing fear-based reactions with confident responses. This is not about blind positivity, it's about consciously taking control of your programming. Most of your negative self-talk wasn't written by you. It was installed over time by parents, teachers, society, and painful experiences. But just because that code was written without your permission, doesn't mean you can't rewrite it now. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, every time you replace self-doubt with self-encouragement, you take a chisel to the old code and begin crafting a new one. Your self-talk determines how you interpret reality. Two people can face the same challenge. One says, "This is impossible," and feels defeated before they begin. The other says, "This is tough, but I'll figure it out," and starts searching for solutions. The challenge hasn't changed, the programming has. One mind is trained to shut down, the other is trained to adapt. The greatest breakthroughs in life often begin with a new sentence spoken to yourself, a new phrase, a new instruction. When you say, "I deserve better," your mind starts building the path to make that a reality. When you say, "I will not be defined by my past," your mind begins to open up new possibilities. You're not just changing your language, you're changing your life direction. Reprogramming your self-talk takes daily intention. It won't happen overnight, but over time, with repetition and belief, the script changes. And when the script changes, the outcome changes. Because your mind runs on the words you feed it, choose them like your life depends on it, because it does. Silence the inner critic, and you free yourself from the greatest form of self-sabotage. Most people believe their biggest challenges come from the outside, difficult circumstances, lack of support, or tough competition. But the real battle is internal. The harshest voice you'll ever hear is the one inside your own head. It's the voice that tells you you're not enough, that you always mess things up, that no matter how hard you try, you'll never measure up. That voice is relentless, subtle, and often disguised as realism or tough love. But the truth is, it's the loudest thief of your potential. This inner critic doesn't wait for others to bring you down. It does the job before they even try. It plants seeds of doubt, questions your every move, and magnifies every mistake. And it's always watching, always ready to whisper that you don't belong, that you're not talented enough, not smart enough, not worthy of more. Over time, this voice becomes so familiar that you start to believe it's part of you. But it's not. It's an echo of old fears, past experiences, and absorbed negativity. And the moment you begin to recognize that this voice is not the truth, but just a pattern, is the moment you begin to take your power back. Silencing your inner critic doesn't mean you ignore reality or pretend you have no flaws. It means you stop letting fear and shame drive your decisions. It means you choose to speak to yourself with the same compassion you'd show to someone you love. Because here's the reality. No one ever grew stronger by being constantly torn down. Growth happens when you feel safe enough to try, to fail, and to try again. And that safety begins inside your own mind. Think about how much of your energy is wasted battling the voice that says you're not good enough. That energy could be used to create, to build, to lead, to love. But when you're too busy criticizing yourself, you rob yourself of the fuel needed to rise. You hesitate, you procrastinate, you give up before the world even gets to see what you're capable of. But the moment you quiet that voice, even just a little, you begin to hear something else. Your true self, the version of you that knows you're capable, that remembers your progress, that sees your worth even when things go wrong. Silencing the inner critic is not a one-time act. It's a daily practice. It's recognizing when the voice starts to speak, questioning its truth, and choosing a better one. It's replacing "I always fail" with "I'm still learning." It's trading "I'll never be enough" for "I'm growing every day." Slowly but surely, the inner critic loses its grip. It gets quieter, and in that silence, your confidence starts to rise. You cannot live a bold, powerful life while constantly beating yourself down. To unlock your full potential, you must become your greatest ally, not your worst enemy. Silence the inner critic and you'll hear a new voice. One that encourages, believes, and pushes you forward. That voice, that's your true power. Confidence begins in solitude. It's not built on applause, recognition, or the validation of others. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when there are no eyes to impress and no expectations to meet. Just you, alone with your thoughts. That's where the foundation of real confidence is laid. It doesn't start on the stage, in the spotlight, or at the peak of success. It starts in your bedroom at 6 a.m. when you choose to show up anyway. It starts during those silent battles with doubt, when you decide to keep going even though no one is clapping. Because before anyone else can believe in you, your voice must. The truth is, most people are looking outward to feel worthy. They wait for the approval, the compliment, the applause. But external validation is temporary. It fades. It changes. Sometimes it never comes at all. If your confidence is built on someone else's opinion, then your self-worth is at the mercy of things you cannot control. But when confidence comes from within, from that inner voice that whispers, "You've got this," when everything feels like it's falling apart, that's unshakable. That's real power. When you're alone, you face your true self. You hear the doubts louder, but you also have the chance to answer them with strength. Solitude gives you space to be honest. It strips away the performance, the masks, and the need to impress. In that space, you can ask yourself the hard questions. Do I believe I'm capable? Do I trust my own decisions? Do I believe I deserve the life I dream of? These questions aren't answered in public. They're answered in the silence of your own thought. And every time you respond with belief, even a whisper of it, you plant a seed of confidence that grows over time. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't always look like someone standing tall and fearless in front of a crowd. Often it's quiet. It's the decision to try again after failure. It's the courage to say no to what doesn't align. It's the choice to trust your intuition, even when others don't understand. These decisions are usually made alone, and every time you choose to back yourself when no one's around to validate it, you build strength that no one can take from you. That's why solitude is sacred. It's not loneliness. It's the training ground of greatness. Champions, leaders, and creators all have one thing in common. They've learned to trust their own voice before anyone else did. They did the work in silence. They lifted themselves up when no one else noticed. They practiced belief in private so they could walk in confidence publicly. You don't need the world to believe in you before you begin. You just need to believe in yourself when no one is watching. That's where confidence is born, in solitude. And once it's rooted there, it becomes the kind of confidence that carries you through anything. Energy follows language. The words you speak to yourself don't just sit quietly in your mind. They move you. They either lift you or weigh you down. Negative self-talk doesn't just hurt your feelings. It drains your energy, weakens your resolve, and clouds your focus. On the other hand, positive self-talk acts as fuel. It ignites momentum, restores clarity, and renews your emotional strength. That's why your next move almost always depends on your last thought. What you say to yourself before you act will often determine how you act, or whether you act at all. We tend to underestimate how deeply our inner language shapes our day. One simple phrase like, "I can't handle this," can spiral into procrastination, anxiety, or giving up entirely. But change that phrase to, "I'll figure this out," and suddenly you feel a shift. You may not have all the answers, but you've told your body and your mind to keep moving forward. That's the difference. Your energy flows in the direction of your belief. Your belief is built by repetition, and repetition is built from the language you choose. Most people are stuck in cycles not because of their circumstances, but because of their self-talk. They've unknowingly trained their minds to expect the worst, to say, "This always happens to me, I never get it right," or "Why bother?" And the moment those words leave their lips, or even float silently in their minds, their energy plummets. their motivation fades, their nervous system tightens, they go into survival mode, not creation mode. And in that state, success, joy, growth, and progress all seem out of reach. But just as negative language can drain your energy, positive language can restore it. When you speak encouragement even to yourself, your posture changes, your mood lifts, your actions become more intentional. You take deeper breaths, you begin to look for solutions instead of problems. This isn't some vague motivational idea. It's biology. Your body responds to the language you use. Say you're exhausted and you'll feel more tired. Say you're ready, and your system starts to prepare for action. It's not about lying to yourself. It's about choosing words that align with the version of you that you're becoming, not the one you're trying to escape. The key is awareness. Catch yourself in those moments of negative self-talk and ask, is this draining me or driving me? Is this giving me energy or stealing it? Change I can't to I haven't yet. Replace I'm stuck with I'm learning. Shift I'm failing into I'm growing. These subtle changes in language create powerful shifts in energy, which lead to better decisions, stronger resilience, and more consistent progress. You don't have to fake positivity or pretend everything's perfect, but you do have to protect your energy. And the first line of defense is the language you use, because your energy follows your words. So speak with intention, think with clarity, fuel your momentum by feeding your mind what it needs to move forward. One thought, one sentence, one belief at a time. Self-talk builds mental armor. Life is unpredictable and at times brutally difficult. Challenges will come. People will misunderstand you. Plans will fall apart. Failures will test your identity. In those moments, the strongest force you can rely on isn't external support. It's your internal voice. That voice will either be your greatest shield or your silent surrender. What you say to yourself when everything is going wrong is more powerful than anything said by others. It's not the storm that breaks you. It's the lack of preparation inside your mind. When life hits hard, your inner dialogue determines your reaction. If your first thought is, I can't handle this, your energy drops, your emotions spiral, and your actions become passive. You freeze, retreat, or collapse under pressure. But if that same moment is met with, this is tough, but I've survived worse, something changes. A layer of protection forms. Not from the pain, but from being consumed by it. That's the role of self-talk. It either reinforces your courage or magnifies your fear. One sentence, repeated enough, becomes armor, or a crack in your spirit. Mental armor is not about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's about knowing how to support yourself from within, even when things are falling apart. It's built in daily moments. How you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, how you respond to rejection, how you deal with fear. Every time you offer yourself words of strength, you reinforce a layer of resilience. You start believing that you're not fragile, that setbacks don't define you, and that you can always find your way back from difficulty. Over time, this inner structure becomes part of your character. The truth is, we're constantly programming ourselves through self-talk. Each word is either reinforcing self-trust or feeding self-doubt. You may not always control the challenges you face, but you always control your response. And that response is shaped by the internal script running in your head. Most people walk through life in psychological armor made of paper, easily torn by a bad day, a critical comment, or a failed attempt. But when you intentionally craft your inner dialogue to be empowering, truthful, and focused on growth, that armor becomes unbreakable. This doesn't mean being unrealistic or overly optimistic. It means speaking truth that strengthens you. When you say, I am allowed to struggle and still keep going, or I am not my past, I am what I choose to become, you affirm your power to endure and evolve. That's real mental strength. It's the ability to stand tall inside, even when everything outside feels uncertain. Self-talk isn't just background noise, it's your personal trainer, your therapist, your coach, and your protector, all in one. And just like armor is forged in fire, Strong self-talk is forged in adversity. The harder life gets, the more critical your words become. Choose them wisely. Build the kind of mindset that doesn't shatter when pressure comes. Because in the end, it's not just about surviving, it's about rising. And that rise always begins with what you say to yourself. Your words are not harmless. They are power. They are programming. They shape your identity, direct your energy, and build the armor you wear in battle. Every sentence you speak to yourself is either a brick in the foundation of your strength or a crack in the wall of your confidence. The voice in your head becomes the life you live. In solitude, your belief is tested. In adversity, your dialogue is revealed. In silence, your future is being written, not by what others say, but by what you say to you. You don't rise because the world believes in you. You rise because you believe in yourself when no one else does. And that belief, that inner trust, is formed word by word, moment by moment, in your self-talk. Choose that language like your life depends on it, because it does. Speak with strength, speak with compassion, speak with purpose, because when your inner voice becomes your greatest ally, there is nothing outside you that can stop you.